My brother refused to help me move. He laughed in my face when I asked. He said he had better things to do. He didn't know that decision would cost him everything. My name is Sarah. I'm 32 years old. For most of my life, I was the one holding our family together. My younger brother, Derek, was always the golden child. Mom loved him more. Dad treated him like royalty. I was the responsible one. The invisible one. The one who paid the bills when no one else could. When our parents died 3 years ago, they left behind the family house. It was a beautiful two-story home in North Carolina, worth about $400,000. My parents had a will. They left the house to both of us. 50-50. Equal shares. That's what the will said. But Derek had other plans. He moved into the house the week after the funeral. He changed the locks. He told me I could visit, but I couldn't live there. He said he needed space. He said he was grieving. I let it go. I was grieving too. I didn't want to fight. I rented a small apartment across town. I worked 2 jobs. I paid off my student loans. I saved every dollar I could. Derek? He lived rent-free in a house we both owned. He threw parties every weekend. He bought a new truck. He went on vacations. He didn't work. He didn't contribute. He lived off our parents' memory. For 3 years, I stayed silent. I thought maybe he'd grow up. Maybe he'd do the right thing. But I was wrong. And when I finally asked him for help, when I finally needed something from him, he showed me exactly who he was. I got engaged last year. His name is Michael. He's a software engineer. Kind. Supportive. Everything Derek wasn't. We decided to move in together. I was leaving my tiny apartment for a townhouse closer to Michael's job. It was a big move. Furniture. Boxes. Years of my life packed into cardboard. I called Derek on a Tuesday morning. I hadn't asked him for anything in 3 years. Not once. I thought maybe he'd finally step up. Maybe he'd act like family. Hey, Derek. I'm moving this Saturday. Could you help me out? Just a few hours. I'll buy lunch. There was a pause. Then he laughed. Not a polite laugh. A mocking one. Yeah, no. I've got plans. Plans? Derek, it's just one day. I really need help. Look, Sarah, I'm busy. I've got a thing with some friends. You'll figure it out. A thing? You mean another party? Derek, I never ask you for anything. And I never asked you to call me with your problems. Hire movers. You're a big girl. He hung up. I stared at my phone. My hands were shaking. Not from sadness. From rage. 3 years of silence. 3 years of watching him live in a house that was half mine. 3 years of biting my tongue. And this was what I got. A laugh. A dismissal. Like I was nothing. Michael saw the look on my face. What happened? He said no. He's your brother. How could he? Because he's always been like this. And I've always let him get away with it. But not anymore. That phone call was the final straw. I made a decision right there. I was done being the doormat. I was done being invisible. Derek wanted to play games? Fine. I'd play. But I'd play to win. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop. I pulled up every document I had about the house. The will. The deed. Tax records. I hadn't looked at them in years. I'd trusted Derek to handle everything. Big mistake. The first thing I noticed was the property tax. It hadn't been paid in 18 months. Overdue notices. Penalties. Interest piling up. I called the county office the next morning. Yes, the property at 1247 Maple Street is currently delinquent. The owner has ignored multiple notices. If payment isn't made by the end of the month, the county will initiate foreclosure proceedings. I'm one of the owners. Why wasn't I notified? All notices were sent to the address on file. That's the property address itself. Of course. Derek had been getting the mail. He'd been hiding the notices. He'd been letting the house fall into foreclosure while he threw parties and bought trucks. I felt my stomach drop. How much is owed? $12,400, including penalties. I hung up. My hands were shaking again. $12,000. If I didn't pay it, we'd lose the house. Both of us. But Derek didn't care. He was living for today. He had no plan. No responsibility. He was going to lose everything and he didn't even know it. I could have called him. I could have warned him. But why? He laughed at me. He dismissed me. He treated me like I was worthless. So I made a choice. I wasn't going to save him. I was going to save myself. And I was going to make sure he learned a lesson he'd never forget. I opened a new tab. I searched for real estate attorneys in North Carolina. I found one with good reviews. I booked a consultation for the next day. The attorney's name was Linda Graves. She was in her 50s. Sharp suit. No-nonsense demeanor. She listened to my story without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. Your brother has been living in the house rent-free for 3 years? Yes. And he hasn't paid property taxes? Correct. And you've been paying your own rent this entire time? Yes. She smiled. Not a friendly smile. A calculated one. Sarah, your brother has made several critical mistakes. First, he's occupying jointly owned property without your consent. Second, he's allowed the property to fall into tax delinquency, which puts your ownership at risk. Third, he's likely been unjustly enriched by living rent-free while you've been financially burdened. What does that mean for me? It means you have options. You can file a partition action, force the sale of the house, split the proceeds, or you can buy out his share. Given his financial irresponsibility, I'd recommend the buyout. He's desperate. He won't see it coming. How do I do that? First, pay the back taxes. That protects your interest. Then, we file a partition lawsuit. We'll also include a claim for rent. He's been living there for 3 years. Market rent for a house like that is about $2,000 a month. That's $72,000 he owes you. He can't pay it. So we offer him a deal. You buy his half of the house at a reduced price, and you waive the rent claim. He walks away with some cash. You get the house. I sat there stunned. It was perfect. It was brutal. It was exactly what Derek deserved. How long will this take? 6 months. Maybe less if he agrees to settle. Let's do it. We shook hands. I walked out of that office feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Power. I paid the $12,000 in back taxes the next day. It hurt. That was most of my savings. But it was worth it. The county sent me a receipt. The house was safe. For now. Linda filed the partition lawsuit 2 weeks later. Derek was served at the house. A process server knocked on the door and handed him the papers. I wasn't there, but I heard about it later. He called me that night. He was furious. What the hell is this, Sarah? You're suing me. I'm exercising my legal rights as a co-owner of the property. Legal rights? Are you serious? This is our parents' house. Exactly. Our parents' house. Not your house. Mine too. And you've been treating it like it's only yours. I live here. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know, Derek. Maybe you should have thought about that before you refused to help me move. Maybe you should have thought about that before you stopped paying the taxes. Silence. What are you talking about? The property taxes, Derek. You haven't paid them in 18 months. The house was about to go into foreclosure. I had to pay $12,000 to save it. You're welcome, by the way. I didn't know. You didn't know because you don't check the mail. You don't take responsibility. You just live your life like nothing matters. Well, guess what? It matters now. Sarah, please. We can work this out. Don't do this. I already did. I hung up. My heart was pounding. I felt guilty for about 5 seconds. Then I remembered his laugh. His dismissal. His arrogance. The guilt disappeared. 2 weeks later, Linda called me. He's lawyered up. But his attorney knows he doesn't have a case. We'll move forward with discovery. Let's see how confident he is when we start asking questions. Discovery was brutal. Linda requested 3 years of financial records, bank statements, credit card bills, proof of income. Derek had to provide everything. And when he did, the picture became clear. He had no job. He'd been living off a small inheritance our parents left in a separate account. $20,000. It was supposed to last him until he got back on his feet. He'd blown through it in 2 years. Vacations. Bars. A brand new truck he couldn't afford. He'd financed the truck with a high-interest loan. He was 3 months behind on payments. He had no savings. No assets. Nothing. Linda also requested rent calculations. We hired an appraiser. Market rent for the house was $2,200 per month. For 3 years, that was $79,200. Derek owed me that much. Legally. He couldn't pay it. Not even close. Linda sent his attorney a settlement offer. I would buy Derek's 50% share of the house for $100,000. In exchange, I'd waive the rent claim. He'd walk away with cash. I'd get the house. It was more than fair. The house was worth $400,000. His half was worth $200,000. But with the rent debt, he was underwater. He owed me money. The offer was generous. His attorney took 2 weeks to respond. When he did, the answer was no. Derek wanted $150,000. He thought he had leverage. He thought I'd cave. He was wrong. Let him refuse, Linda said. We'll go to court. The judge will see the tax delinquency, the unpaid rent, his financial irresponsibility. Derek will lose. And when he does, the court will order the house sold. He'll get nothing. Then let's go to court. Are you sure? This will get ugly. I'm sure. The hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. I wore a navy suit. I brought every document. Tax receipts. Bank statements. The appraisal report. Linda had prepared me for hours. I knew what to say. I knew how to stay calm. Derek showed up late. He wore jeans and a wrinkled t-shirt. His attorney looked embarrassed. The judge was a woman in her 60s. She didn't smile. Linda presented our case first. She laid out the facts. The will. The 50-50 ownership. Derek's exclusive occupancy. The unpaid taxes. The $79,000 in unpaid rent. She showed the judge the receipts. The notices. Everything. The judge looked at Derek. Mr. Collins, do you dispute any of these facts? Derek's attorney stood. Your Honor, my client has been living in the family home to preserve his parents' memory. He didn't realize the taxes were overdue. He's willing to work out a payment plan. A payment plan? With what income? Silence. Does your client have a job? Not currently, Your Honor. Does he have savings? No, Your Honor. Then how does he plan to pay $79,000 in back rent? Derek's attorney looked at Derek. Derek looked at the floor. The judge turned to me. Ms. Collins, you've requested a partition and buyout. You've offered $100,000 for your brother's share. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. That's more than fair given the circumstances. Mr. Collins, I strongly suggest you accept this offer. If you don't, I'll order the house sold at auction. You'll get half the proceeds minus the back rent and legal fees. You'll walk away with almost nothing. Derek's face went pale. His attorney whispered something to him. Derek shook his head. He stood up. This isn't fair. She's stealing from me. The judge's expression hardened. Sit down, Mr. Collins. Derek didn't sit down. He kept talking. She planned this. She waited until I was vulnerable. She's using the system to steal our parents' house. Mr. Collins, sit down now or I'll hold you in contempt. Derek's attorney grabbed his arm, pulled him back into his seat. Derek was shaking. His face was red. He looked like he was about to cry. The judge looked at him with something close to pity. Then she looked at her notes. I've reviewed the evidence. Ms. Collins has demonstrated that she paid the delinquent property taxes. She has documented her brother's exclusive occupancy. She has calculated fair market rent. She has made a reasonable settlement offer. Mr. Collins has provided no evidence of financial contribution, no proof of tax payments, no justification for his refusal to settle. She paused. I'm granting the partition. The property will be sold unless Mr. Collins accepts Ms. Collins's buyout offer within 30 days. If he refuses, the house will be auctioned. Proceeds will be divided after deducting back rent, taxes, and legal fees. This hearing is adjourned. She banged the gavel. Derek sat there, frozen. His attorney packed up his briefcase and left. I stood up. Linda squeezed my shoulder. You won. I looked at Derek. He was staring at the table. His hands were shaking. For a moment, I almost felt bad. Almost. Then I remembered the phone call, the laugh, the dismissal. I walked out of the courtroom without saying a word. Outside, Michael was waiting. He hugged me. How'd it go? We won. What happens now? Now we wait. He has 30 days to accept the offer. If he doesn't, the house gets sold. Either way, I get what's mine. And if he accepts, then I own the house. And he's out of my life forever. Derek didn't call. He didn't text. He didn't show up at my door. For 30 days, there was nothing. Just silence. I didn't push. I didn't reach out. I let him sit with his choices. Michael and I moved into the townhouse. We unpacked. We settled in. Life felt normal for the first time in years. But in the back of my mind, I was counting down. Day 15. Day 20. Day 28. On day 29, Linda called. He accepted. I sat down on the couch. My hands were shaking. He signed. This morning, his attorney sent over the paperwork. $100,000 for his 50% share. You waive the rent claim. He vacates the property within 60 days. It's done, Sarah. The house is yours. I didn't know what to say. I'd been preparing for a fight, for an auction, for more court dates. But he'd caved. He'd given up. Why'd he do it? Because he had no choice. He's broke. He's facing foreclosure on his truck. He has no income. $100,000 is the best deal he's ever going to get. He knows it. When do I pay him? At closing. 2 weeks from now. The title company will handle everything. You bring a cashier's check. He signs over his share. Then it's over. I hung up. I sat there for a long time. Michael came into the room. What happened? He accepted. The house is mine. Michael smiled. He pulled me into a hug. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty. Hollow. Like I'd won a war but lost something I couldn't name. Then I remembered why I'd started this. Not for revenge. Not for satisfaction. For justice. For fairness. For all the years I'd been invisible. And suddenly, the emptiness faded. The closing was at a title company in downtown Charlotte. I arrived early. I brought the cashier's check. $100,000. Linda was with me. We sat in a conference room and waited. Derek showed up 15 minutes late. He looked terrible. Unshaven. Dark circles under his eyes. His clothes were wrinkled. He didn't look at me. He sat down across the table and stared at the papers. The title agent explained everything. Derek would sign over his 50% share. I would pay him $100,000. The house would be transferred into my name only. All debts, including the rent claim, would be waived. Derek signed without reading. His hand was shaking. When he finished, the agent turned to me. I signed. I slid the check across the table. Derek picked it up. He stared at it for a long time. Then he looked at me. I hope you're happy. I'm not doing this for happiness, Derek. I'm doing this because it's fair. Fair? You stole our parents' house. I saved our parents' house. You almost lost it. You didn't pay the taxes. You didn't take care of it. You treated it like a free ride. I cleaned up your mess. Again. I needed help. And I asked you for help. I asked you for one day. A few hours. And you laughed at me. You dismissed me. You treated me like I was nothing. So don't talk to me about needing help. He looked down. For the first time, I saw something in his eyes. Regret. Maybe. Or just defeat. I didn't think you'd actually do this. Then you don't know me at all. The agent cleared her throat. We're finished here. Miss Collins, the house is officially yours. Mr. Collins, you have 60 days to vacate. Derek stood up. He walked out without another word. 2 months later, Derek moved out. He didn't tell me where he went. I didn't ask. I hired a cleaning crew. The house was a disaster. Trash. Broken furniture. Stains on the carpet. It took 3 days to make it livable again. Michael and I moved in a week later. We repainted. We replaced the floors. We turned it into a home. Not our parents' home. Not Derek's home. Ours. I found out later that Derek used the $100,000 to pay off his debts. The truck. Credit cards. Medical bills I didn't even know about. He had about $20,000 left. He moved to Florida. Got a job at a warehouse. I heard this from a cousin. Not from him. We haven't spoken since the closing. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh. If I should have given him another chance. Then I remember the phone call. The laugh. The years of being invisible. And I realize I wasn't harsh. I was fair. I was finally fair to myself. The house is worth more now. We renovated. We invested. It's our home. Our future. Our family's legacy. And Derek? He lost it because he couldn't see past himself. Because he thought he was entitled. Because he never learned that actions have consequences. I don't regret what I did. Not for a second. I took control. I fought for what was mine. And I won. If you've ever been dismissed by someone you loved, if you've ever been invisible in your own family, if you've ever had to fight for what's fair, you understand. You do what you have to do. You don't apologize for it. My brother refused to help me move. And that decision cost him everything. If you enjoyed this story, like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.